Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head on UATV and I'm Oles Gerjuk. Russia's hybrid war in the Donbas has affected over 4 million civilians and around 1.5 million of them have been internally displaced. The issue of protecting their rights becomes more and more pressing nowadays, so to address some of the problems they face, United Nations Development Program has launched a mobile application called Your Rights. So how exactly does this project help in protecting and promoting human rights in Ukraine? To learn more about this, we welcome to the studio today Rustam Pulatov, UNDP Community, Security and Social Cohesion Specialist. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So, tell us about this mobile app and how can it be effective?
Well, we have decided to pilot this type of approach to communicate the information in very plain language, very simple language.
It's not easy to understand.
Yeah, easy to understand without a lot of legal terminology, because we know that usually when the people may have access to laws and so on, but it's difficult to understand. And the easiest way would be to reach them through the mobile application. It's available for both Android and iPhone type of devices or macOS devices and so on. The idea was to let the user of the application answer a few questions, very simple questions like when they should answer yes or no.
Okay, so there is simple question.
Very simple question. No, you don't have to write, you just need to click the button and answer yes or no. And depending on this, after like let's say 3-4 defining questions, you will get some sort of a solution or some sort of a recommendation what to do. Again, very simple recommendation. For example, you may go there, you can obtain this document there, this is document you can download from this place. So when you approach to the authority or something, you are ready, you know your rights.
You have some information.
Yes, you understand what you are entitled for because you understand your rights, so you are not completely lost in this all documentation, all the legal procedures and so on. And you can get, and I think authorities as well would be quite happy to talk to the people who knows their rights and they are not afraid of something and so on. So
of course.
The idea was actually to provide A, information about the rights, B, information about how to get the rights, and C, reference information, whom to talk, where to get the documents, and if they need legal aid or some sort of legal counseling, some phone numbers, some addresses and so on. So it's kind of a all-in-one information about rights of the IDPs and those survivors of gender-based violence.
Well, looks like a very useful application, but what categories does it target?
Okay, so for the IDPs, internally displaced persons, we cover almost all the questions they may have. It can be something about housing, it can be about education, it can be about social protection, it can be about getting some benefits, some payments, about the crossing the contact line. So if whatever question they may have, it's very easy to pick up what you are interested in. Again, even if you don't have any problems immediately, probably just the clicking through the application, you learn a lot. So you will be ready to be more aware of this. Yeah. And for the gender-based violence, again, the application is quite useful. You may answer a few questions. What is also important, it doesn't only address the issue of those really survivors of the gender-based violence, but it also talks a lot about discrimination, gender discrimination, which is the topic is still yet to be really discussed openly in Ukraine, because especially if it's at the workplace or labor-related discrimination and so on.
In Ukraine, this topic is really hard to prove still, and also violence is really hard to prove. So what practical steps does this application provide for the users? Well,
it can give you the information, again, both rights you have. For example, can someone abuse you this or other way? And you understand actually what it means. For example, if you are in your workplace and, I don't know, your colleague says something, does it mean this is the part of the discrimination
this is the sexual abusement
yes,
or not?
And if it's a part of discrimination according to the legislation, then it gives you a practical step what to do.
Does it give advice how to collect the proper evidence? Just to prove that this actually...
Not into that, because then it becomes a bit too more complicated for the user, admissibility of some collected evidence and so on. It just gives you, again, what's important, awareness about your rights and awareness about mechanisms to protect these rights.
Well, most of the people are pretty aware what sexual violence and gender-based violence entails, but maybe some of our audience do not really know the problems that IDPs might face. So could we focus a bit on that?
Okay.
What are the instances?
Yeah, for IDPs again. A lot of IDPs already kind of moved to the territory of now controlled territory in Ukraine. And,
well, you already mentioned the problems with housing. And
and
education.
they're residing also here, and a lot of them in Mariupol, in Kramatorsk, Severodonetsk, and Lysychansk, and so on. But we still have quite a big group of people, and according to the official statistic, around 40,000 people a day crossing the contact line in Donbas and Crimea. 40,000 people every day. So and they're coming to get some sort of a services or get some benefits, payments, and so on. And usually it's quite stressful to cross the contact line, to get there. It's also expensive often. They need to stay often for a couple of more days, overnight, in a place they don't know where to go, and so on. So this application, again, may be quite helpful if they would like to get some information about this.
Well, there is only one thing that I wonder about. Half of the IDPs are basically elderly people, and we know that in Ukraine, our elderly people, they do not really follow up on modern technologies and modern services. Moreover, they are very scared to use some abstract things like internet or touch screen. So how can this application reach out to them?
Yeah.
Or maybe there is some other service.
Well, yeah, I mean, if those elderly people, they don't use the mobile phones with applications and so on, for them, for example, we have helped to establish 2 mobile, we call it cell clinics at the contact lines. So when they're crossing, there is a lawyer for free who provides some legal advice, what to get, even can print the documents if need be, and so on. So when they're crossing, if they stop for a 1 minute, go there, talk to the lawyer. He explains the same way, very simple language, the same like application, but in face-to-face communication. And plus, again, we disseminate a lot of information about legal aid centers that are close to the contact line. So when they cross, even if they don't have time to stop at the legal aid office at the contact line, they can pick up the addresses and go to the closest legal aid office in the territory of the Ukraine.
This is very helpful. And could you tell us when was this application launched and what is the feedback so far? Yeah,
it's just actually launched. It's basically available only, brand new, a couple of weeks only. We have not even advertised, nothing. It's just...
okay, so we're advertising it right now.
Yes, I think it's a good opportunity. As I said, it's available for all kinds of devices. We have already some downloads, pretty good. Users are using this. We have this feedback. Some feedback are not very clear what it means, but we are trying to also to improve application with every revision. And let's see. So, for example, the next step will be to introduce civil process, a new chapter into this. It's basically explaining the people what some sort of processes they can expect when they go, for example, to the court. First, what they should talk, whom they should talk, where they can get information, and so on. Very, again, simple. What's important, it should be very simple language for users to understand.
This is actually a brilliant idea, because this official language is really hard to understand for most of the people. But whose idea is that, and who was cooperating with you to launch this application? Who financed it?
Yeah, at this stage, it was rather based on our lessons when we talked to people, and they also were curious about if they can get information about their rights in some sort of online area, and we thought, okay, we should try and see how it works with this application. In some other countries, it actually is quite successful, and they are these developers of this application. They are building on this. It's always for free, and so on. So it's kind of really awareness and so on. So we try to also experiment and see what we can do here in Ukraine. And so far, it looks like it was the right decision. So we hope that we'll continue building on this. But again, the aim in the end would be probably to transfer the rights of this application to some sort of a non-governmental maybe organization that can deal with this. You have so many organizations that provide some legal aid and so on. So maybe they can actually own this application in the end and continue building, because we will not be here always. So somebody needs to take care of future developments as well.
Well, mobile app looks like a very convenient way for education, and let's just hope that this Your Rights mobile app will educate Ukrainian people and make them more aware of their human rights. Well, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much.
That was Rustam Pulatov, UNDP Community Security and Social Cohesion Specialist. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Oles Garjuk. Goodbye.